back to our series of interviews with our fantastic Euro members all over the world. It's a great pleasure today to talk to Viktoria and Åse from Nordic Relocation Group in Sweden. I've spoken also with you twice since the start of the pandemic. Viktoria, it's lovely to see you as well. And for the benefit of just everybody watching, we're going to do this a little bit differently. The reason that we're talking with both of you is because you have undergone some significant changes in the leadership structure within your company. And I would love to look at what you've done and why you've done it. Also, do you want to start?
Oh yes, thank you for having me back again. I must be making some sense when I've had the pleasure. Well, you know, I've turned 65, so I'm not shy about saying how old I am. And the fact of the matter is, when you pass 60 and all this, you know that you have employees a little bit worried. So what's going to happen eventually? What are the plans? What's happening with the company? Is she selling? Is she doing this? So I knew that I had to think about it. And I think I probably talked to you and Tad at some point during your just sort of wondering about bits and pieces, you know. And you've had some good shows at the Euro about handing over the company to either if you're selling or if the next generation takes over. And honestly, in our family, both Katarina and Christian, who work in the company, my children, did not want the role. They've seen how much work I put into it and all this, so, you know, and I've had a good time of it, but I realized that that might not be the situation that was best at the moment because their children are quite young.
Right. And
this role really does need your full attention. So at some point, Viktoria and I started to talk, and I realized that really the best option we had, and I think a very good one, was to hand over the reign to Viktoria. For several reasons. She's been with the company for 6 years.
Is it that long? Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has, her background is absolutely perfect. She has qualities and qualifications that I didn't have. There's a lot of stuff, you know, when you start off as a small one person or two person company that you need to learn. Lots of skills. And a lot of these skills Viktoria brings with her to the company. And so it's felt like a very, very good match. And I think we like each other. We think a lot together about the same things, like the same ethics when it comes to how you manage your company, how you manage clients. And I think basically we started off we talked last year, end of last year. And in February, what we did was that we informed all 3 offices. We had meetings in all 3 offices. And I said, you all have been wondering, I'm guessing, what the future holds. And I would like to present you to your next managing director. And I must say, people were just so happy.
Great.
I'm not sure it's because I've been all that great a leader or whatever, but they're very happy to bring Viktoria on board and because they know her well.
I think it's really interesting because, again, what you tried to do was, you know, to give some certainty, which, of course, you know, as a leader, that's incredibly important. And Viktoria, so how, I mean, did you kind of say, yes, great, I would love that opportunity? Or did you kind of, like, as Åse said, you know what's involved, you know how big a role it is. You're a multi-site operation with multiple different clients in multiple different sectors. How's it been?
I'm probably naive. No, but I've really enjoyed working with Åse during these years. We've done travels together, and so the talk has kind of did start to come over the last years, and I've had one of our biggest clients as well as my responsibility. So when you launched the idea, I kind of said, yes, why not? And it's a fantastic company and a fantastic team. So I don't think I ever hesitated.
No, and also I think what Viktoria brings in, you know, it's one thing having a small company, but as it grows, you need other qualifications and to establish for stability in the group. And Viktoria has a degree in finance.
Right.
Which I think is, you know, I'm coming from a nursing background, and we're bringing in something that could really be essential when you're trying to build and to develop an organization. And so her financial background, having led big teams earlier, she can talk about that. But that sort of makes things very much clearer. And I think that's a big asset and a big something that will really help the company in its development.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, again, you know, we've talked about this before, and you're both very aligned with your kind of goals and your visions for the company. And obviously, like you say, when we've looked at these issues at various conferences and various sessions, that's so key. You know,
and I think also the fact, like you said, at different points in a company's life, you need different qualifications, and you're probably the entrepreneur starting it up and getting all these networks going, and I might be a little bit more of the next step leader. I'm really looking forward to take it from the family company to something a little bit more
next level,
structured and
it's fascinating because, again, we are, for the very first time in my lifetime within relocation, we are reaching this point where a lot of those family companies have got to make this next step. I mean, there's lots and lots of different examples out there. Did you talk to people who'd done the similar sort of things and figure it out from there, or was it very much something you thought between the two of you, this is going to work well?
I think, I mean, honestly, the last 2 or 3 years we've had at the conferences these topics that are very related to these issues. As you said, you know, a lot of people started from among the oldies. We started our companies in the 90s. And so at some point we're getting to that age where we're 65, some of them up to 70 plus. And, you know, you need to think about it. What is the next step for the company? And for me, it's important that for the employees that we have is that they feel secure. And they know that this will continue. It's not like if I go out and I get run over by bus, this company is not going to, you know, take its last breath. It's going to continue and it's going to develop. And I mean, that's been a very important part in what I've tried to do. And whether it is we get the right person or right organization that wants to buy the company, maybe that's a solution. But we can't sit there and wait for somebody to come in and sweep us off our feet. We need to continue to develop it and to see where it goes. And kind of like having different options available for yourself, but not to sit there and try to hope for something. But, you know, where are we now? What can we do? What's the best solution? And the best solution for Nordic is to bring in a new managing director with ambition and the energy and the knowledge to take it on.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. I mean, it's a conversation that, you know, Tad and I have had as well. I mean, I think you were still the president when we decided we probably shouldn't all fly on the same flights all the time. So you know, something because, and then putting in place, like you say, a sort of a rescue strategy. So this is great. I'm thrilled. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to see each other last year in Seville. That would have been fantastic. And again for you, Viktoria, that kind of, you know, it's the great opportunity for you both to say to all your partners, you know, within the industry, this has happened and fantastic. So at least we can do it virtually now.
Yes.
And hopefully in Seville in June.
Yes.
Yes, we're very ready.
We're very good. I tell you, it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. So listen, how are you both, and how are things right now in Sweden? We find ourselves all in second waves. How are things in beautiful Sweden?
Well, first of all, I think we're both very happy that we had the COVID back in March.
You both had it.
Yes.
Viktoria, I know.
Half of the office at the same time.
We were at the same meeting. We kind of came down with it the week after.
And Viktoria, how was it for you? Were you?
It was okay, but it about 2 weeks of the typical symptoms and so on. Yeah, and tired for quite some time afterwards. But back in good shape and everything. But the fantastic thing is that we both still have the antibodies. So 8 months after having been sick. So
we tested both last week, and we still have antibodies. So I mean, we're feeling very, very good about it, which means that we're not being as good as we should maybe in taking considerations. Exactly.
Yes, that's very true.
It's not 2 meters. It's
Yep.
But this raises a very interesting question, because obviously the restrictions are you know, don't necessarily, should not apply to you, but of course you have to do what everybody else is doing, right?
Absolutely. And also, I think no one really knows how long these antibodies last. So we do need to be careful, of course.
And I think it's a general thing also, Dominic, that you need to be, you see how the society is, how we function, and we all need to do our part and following the rules and regulations that apply. And so even if we have had it, you still keep that distance to other people because you're also enforcing what's good for society. And I think that's important, even people with COVID, that they've had it.
And we also, when we walk around, we don't have a big sign saying.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I had it. Yeah.
It's nice, but
I think they should sell these caps where you could just say, COVID here, and then you know that that person's okay.
Funnily enough, when I remember interviewing Stuart McAllister from Interview in Hungary right at the beginning, and he said that's what's going to happen eventually is you'll have some identification to say you've either had it, you've got the antibodies, or you've had the vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think that's going to happen when we start traveling. When the travel bans are gone, you will probably need to show some sort of documentation before you get on the flight that you've actually had your vaccinations.
I would think so. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. And so the restrictions in Sweden, I mean, as you know, I've been incredibly impressed by how, Sweden has dealt with this. The numbers are just dramatically lower than they are in other equivalent populations like the UK. I mean, if you do, obviously our population is much, much bigger, but even, pro rata, it's been handled very well. And right at the beginning also, you were saying, well, that's mainly because the Swedish people are quite respectful of doing the right thing, which is very impressive. How are things now?
I think we also are in the middle of that second wave that everybody talks about. I guess we all got tired of following the recommendations at some point, and also because during the summer the numbers were very low. Yes. So we have some new restrictions, but it's still only recommendations. We shouldn't meet more than 8 people together. Above all, keep distance. That's the most important. Wash our hands, disinfect. But otherwise it's 8 people, no big gatherings. Young people are allowed to do sports. The rest of us should stay away from the gyms, but I think
oh really? Is
quite a lot of outdoor activities that we can still do. So
the gyms are open, the library is open, but they're sort of telling people to keep their distance and don't go. They're telling you to avoid it if possible, and so people are. And I think we're still respectful to the recommendations that have been given. But what you did also have now during the autumn season was all the universities starting up. And so you had all these, and you're young and you are invincible.
Of course.
Right? It doesn't happen to me. I'm never going to die. And so the young people did have their parties, and there were issues there, and they did spread the bug, and that's all there's to it. And so we're at the situation we're now. Where we're now again, because now just the recent 2 weeks, I think it's kind of escalated again, where we do need to take our responsibility and our part in trying to avoid this.
There is one restriction actually that's more than a recommendation, and that's the bars and restaurants. They're still open, but they are not allowed to sell alcohol after 10 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that means also that we close at 10:30.
Right.
So, that's they say one of the biggest things in Sweden since the Second World War restrictions.
Yes.
So,
Really? Wow. Yeah. Well, it's a very.
We just start earlier.
It's a bright thing.
We're looking at 3 instead.
Exactly. I think it's interesting, having spoken to a lot of your members during the second wave, that I mean, maybe during the first one, I was thinking to myself, well, I'm not at such great risk. So, now people are seeing the numbers climb so dramatically. I think people are feeling more vulnerable and are being more sensible about not going into shops, not going to the pubs, my age anyway. So how is the kind of national mood in Sweden? How are people feeling? Are they sick of it now?
I think people are quite sick and tired of it, but I think we all agree that, and that's the big message, if we want to celebrate Christmas together, we need to do these things and follow the recommendations strictly now up until mid-December.
I think they've said there's a lock-off at December 22 when it comes to the restrictions that they've tried to put into place, and then we'll see what the new development is, because they are telling people to be wary and to be careful. And of course, this maximum amount of 8 people and all this. So how does that affect Christmas celebrations? So
yeah, it's a very difficult game for governments to play, because again here and in many other European, this is the big debate: is do we shut down Christmas?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the transmission is indoors amongst multi-generation. It's the perfect storm. Christmas is actually probably the worst thing that could happen to the virus. But we've also got to have the psychology of being connected with our families and loved ones again, right?
No, but we've had a tradition that's quite nice on Christmas Eve, where we actually meet friends out in the woods, and we have this little bonfire and do with the sausage. We have hot dogs that we put over an open fireplace, and people bring along blue wine and stuff like this, and we have a little kind of cocktail party atmosphere there for an hour or two, and then everybody goes home to their own celebrations. For those who don't have a lot of family coming in. So, and we were kind of discussing if we're going to do that this year or not because of the COVID. And 1 or 2 families will still be going, but there are a lot of people who are saying, no, we're going to keep to ourselves this year, and wish you all well.
Although it sounds like a quite corona safe.
Yes,
outdoors.
I agree, absolutely. Funny enough, I was talking with Peggy Love, our consultant for content, and she is having Thanksgiving with her family, and she sent me a photograph. I was telling her about your tradition also of going into the woods. She sent me a photograph last night. They were all outside around the fire pit.
Yes,
really, and that's what a nice thing to do. Yeah.
And it's really nice because just ahead of that really very, very heavy Christmas dinner, it's nice to have a couple of hours out in the fresh air.
Absolutely. So I would love to catch up with you guys again in the spring and find out how you're both doing and how it's going. And oh, by the way, also because we talked about your title. So obviously, Victoria, you're managing director. You've taken that role. Also, what did you decide?
I'm guessing I'm a chairwoman or chairman or whatever the title might be.
Yeah.
Working as such, but I'm also actually, because I'm now sort of retired, I'm trying to figure out what that actually means.
Well, I hope it means that sorry, Victoria, to say this, but while you're having back-to-back meetings at conferences, Åsa's enjoying the content and being able to go to the lunches.
Oh,
exactly.
Absolutely. Yep, definitely. I've got my priorities in place. So
that was clear from the beginning that the travel will still, okay. I'll be there to network with you.
It's on paper.
Yeah.
Good. It's in the contract. Listen, it's been absolutely lovely to talk to you both. To you, to your team, to your families, just have, stay safe, have a wonderful Christmas, have a lovely holiday season.
The same to you.
And we will really look forward to catching up in the new year.
We look forward to it. And may that virus be gone when the vaccinations come into place, right? So, Viva España and Seville.
Absolutely.